Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be looking at flat, regressive, and progressive taxes. So we're going to do this through two examples. The first example, we are looking at two people who live in Newburgh but work in Beacon. So then that means that 5 times a week, for Monday through Friday, they have to cross the bridge and pay $1.50 each crossing. Right? So we're going to look at how much they have to pay over the year and then compare the two people and see what we can think about what this tax looks like. So, part A says, find how much each person pays in tolls for the year. No vacations, no holidays, 5 times a week, 52 weeks. So we kind of just said the meat of this, right? They work 52 weeks a year. They cross the bridge 5 times each week. So that's a total of 260 times they are going to cross that bridge. But every time they cross the bridge, they have to pay. So then that means they have to pay a total of $1.50 times 260, right? Because the 260 is the number of times they did it, which gives me $390 total, right? So $390 is the total amount that they have to pay every year for crossing the bridge. Okay, so this is both people. Both people, they're crossing the same number of times, they pay the same amount. So where are they different? Well, so let's assume person A makes $25,000 a year and person B makes $75,000 a year. So what we're interested in is looking at the tax that they both pay the same amount. Again, they both pay $390, but we're trying to look at what does that mean to each person. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to figure out what percentage of their gross income, remember, gross income is just your total income that you make before taxes. What percentage of your income do you pay in tolls? So person A, here we go. Percentage means I should be dividing. So I take the $390 they pay in tolls and I divide that by their total amount of income. And that gives me about 1.5%. So person A, they know they're making $25,000 a year. Forget about taxes for a second. They say, okay, I have to pay 1.5% of that to crossing the bridge. Okay, so what about person B? Well, person B, on the other hand, person B still pays $390, but they have $75,000 of income. So if we look at that percentage, we end up with this number, which is 0.52%, so 0.5%. So let's go back up and compare these two. So person A, right, pays 1.5% of their income. Person B pays 0.5% of their gross income. Right, but they're paying the same amount, $390. But to person A, and this is going to answer our question C, to person A, this tax is, and I put in quotes, more here, right? I put in quotes more here, because while it's the same amount you have to pay, both people, $390, probably in change, or Easy Pass, whatever, is given to New York State or the local municipality for taking care of the bridge, right? So that money goes in as a tax to pay for the bridge. They both pay $390, but person A makes less money. So that $390 is more to them. It's a larger percentage of their income. So it is more of a weight on them to pay that. On the other hand, person B, it's the same amount, $390. I use the bridge exactly the same amount as person A, but since I, as person B, make more money, it is less of a burden on me to have this tax because I have more money. So that is this idea of a regressive tax. A regressive tax is a tax in which, depending on how much money you make, the tax itself will affect you differently. So in this case, we both spend $390. So it's even in the sense that we're paying the same amount and we use it the same amount. What's not even is that the $390 will seem like a lot more to person A because they make less than to person B. So that is the idea of a regressive tax, a tax in which you pay the same amount, no matter who you are and how much money you make, but it ends up feeling like more to a person who makes less. So regressive tax. So we've seen what a regressive tax is, and we know what a flat tax is. Now we get to do an example of a progressive tax. So this is an example that is very similar to how our actual taxes work, our income taxes. When you do it at the end of the year, this is how things work. So you are put into, you'll hear tax brackets, right? So the tax bracket lingo has to do with this table here on the right. And the idea being that your income is broken up into brackets or groups, all right? And it's taxed differently. So you'll see here we've got different dollar amounts. And for each of these dollar amounts, there is a different tax rate, okay? Now, what is the main confusion with this? The main confusion people have is they think, okay, I make, so we'll do an example here. This is the confusion people have. So the confusion is, okay, let's say I make $90,000. That's my gross income. Or in this case, we'll just do my taxable income. That's my taxable income. So what they think is, okay, I look at this, and okay, that means I'm in here. I'm in this bracket. And I think this is where the bracket, the terminology confuses people. So then you look at this table and you think, okay, that means I'm going to get taxed 24% on my $90,000 because I fill into that bracket. That is not the way this works, right? So if that was true, if it was really that you just were fully in a 24% bracket, then your tax would be 90,000 times 0.24. That would be how much you pay in tax. But it doesn't work like this. The way this bracket system works is you take your income, your 90,000, and you break it up into chunks. You have a chunk that sits in this first bracket, the first $9,875 you make. That first chunk, that gets taxed at 10% for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or you only make $1,000 or you make $90,000. The money that you are being taxed on that fits in this first $9,000, everyone gets hit with a 10% tax on that. Then what do? Well, you've already been taxed on that amount. Take that away, move it to the side. Then you look at how much money you have left, and you say, okay, that fills up all of this bracket, or at least some of it. Take that money, tax me 12% on that. Okay, awesome. If you had money going all the way up to $40,125, if you have more than that, that means that your money then, that hasn't been taxed yet, because you had more of it, falls into this bracket and gets hit with 22%. If you made even more than $85,525, the amount you made more now fills into this bracket. And it just keeps going like that until you're out of money that's been taxed. All right, so the way this bracket works is it's like you fill it up. You take your big pot of money. So here's your pot of money, and you pour it in here. We're pouring it in, and it fills up this bracket first, right? It fills this up. You get taxed 10%. But then if you have more money than fills in that bucket, it then spills out and fills up this bracket. Okay, you get hit with 12% on that amount. But if you had even more money than that, it then spills out into this bracket. And maybe, we'll do one more. So it fills in this one, and then it spills out here. And in this case, we only fill up a little bit of this bracket, not the whole thing. So we'll get just taxed on whatever is left over at 24% in here. Because 90,000 only fills up a tiny part of that little bucket. So you can think of these brackets almost like little buckets that hold some specific amount of money. Once you fill that up, you move on to the next bracket. If you don't fill it up all the way, you'll stop. Okay, so I've said a lot there. Let's try an example. So the example here then is, so let me get rid of this. So the example here is we have a person who makes $82,000 with a $7,000 deduction. So this is going back to the last sheet with deductions and claims. So, okay, step one is always apply your deduction. So our taxable income is take your gross, take the deduction, and subtract it. Because remember, this is good for us. We want to lower our taxable income. So that gives me $75,000. Now I can run that through my taxes net. I can actually show that to the IRS and they'll tax me. Now, how does this work, right? How does this actually work, this taxing system? Well, what happens is we take our $75,000 and we put it over here, right? And so this big purple box here represents all of my money, all my $75,000 that I earned. That's taxable. And what I do is I chop it into pieces. Here is the first chunk of money. My first $0 to $9,875 I made, that gets taxed at 10%, which remember is just take your money, the $9,875, so take that money right here, multiply by 0.10. That's how I tax $9,875 at 10%. Okay, so that's going to be the first part that I have to pay. But I made more than that, right? $75,000 is more than what fills up this little box here. So once I have filled up this box, then I take my money and I fill up this next box. Well, the next box can fit money between this number, 9,876, the next dollar that you can see here, right? And it fills it all the way up to $40,125. So we look at our number, okay, 75,000, that's bigger than this, so I'm going to fill this box up. So what do? I say, okay, I'm going to hit it with 12% right here. So I take the amount of money that fills up that box, which is big number minus small number. That's the actual number of dollars that fills that box up. And I multiply that by 12% because I'm taxing it. So that's the next big chunk of my money now. So I've my first $9,875, I took that, taxed it at 10%. Then my next big chunk of money, right, pretty close to $30,000, gets taxed at 12%. Okay, so then I ask myself, am I out of money yet or do I have more? Well, I made more than this $40,000 cutoff, so I do have more. It flows over into the next box. Right? It doesn't fill the next box though, right? The next box goes all the way to 85,000 here. So I don't quite fill up that box. So what do? I take whatever's left over, the rest of my money that hasn't been taxed yet, 75,000 minus the cutoff of 40,000. That amount of money that filled up this box gets hit with a 22% tax. Because that's just what the table says. So each of these numbers is coming straight from my table. All right, I put these into my calculator and add them up because I'm paying tax on each part here, and I get $12,289.88. All right, so I'm not just only being taxed a flat tax on my whole amount of money. I'm filling up each of these boxes or brackets, however you want to think of them. I like boxes. I'm filling up each of these little boxes with all the money I made, right? And then each box that I put money into that I can fill, right, either all the way or only a part of the way, all I do is tax the money that fits into that box with the percent given. Okay? So this diagram can be helpful. You don't have to write it out, but I like kind of just drawing it for myself to remind myself what's going on here. So what about person B? Person B makes more, $150,000. They have a $12,000 deduction and a $4,000 tax credit. So what are my steps here? Remember, step 1, apply your deduction. My $150,000 minus $12,000 leaves me with $138,000. Step 2, apply the tax. So again, you'll see what I did here. I took my taxable income, right? I drew out a nice little picture here for it. right? And I said, okay, start at the bottom. Take my $138,000. Remember, this is how much I have to be taxed, and it's like I'm pouring it in here. Well, I start at the bottom. It's like I'm pouring it in. I'm trying to fill it up. So I fill up this first box because I have more than $9,875. And you'll notice, look, I did this computation already. Both people filled up that box, but everyone pays the same percentage on their first $9,875 of taxable income. So you've already done this calculation. Awesome. Go get that number, whatever it was, rewrite it. Okay, I fill up this box with my money. Filled it up, right? Filled it up. All right, and then I look at my money, I say, okay, I've got more than $9,875, right? So let's keep pouring the money in and see what happens. Well, it fills up this box completely. Filled up, filled up, filled up. So how much money was filled into this box? Bigger number, 40,000 minus smaller number, 9,876, right? So about $30,000 fits into this box. Hit that with 12%. Hey, look, I already did this one, right? Both people filled up the first two boxes. So you can reuse your work here. I already did this. All right, well, what changes then? Well, what changes here is that this person makes enough money to fill up this entire box. Whole box gets filled here. Woohoo! So then what do? I take the amount of money that fits into this box, about $45,000. Here's the calculation to figure out exactly how much fits in the box, times the percentage. So I fill up my money into the box. Okay, I filled it all the way. Multiply how much fits in there with my 22%. That's right here. And then lastly, I say, okay, what's the next step? Well, if we scroll up to find the next box, the 24% box, why don't we see what that looks like? The 24% box, you'll see, goes up to $160,000. So I don't hit that. I don't get quite as much money as that. But I definitely overflow past this box in here, right? So I definitely overflow into the box. I just don't fill it up. But that's okay. It just tells me stop there. I didn't fill up the box, so stop. So I take this amount, fill it up. How much money fits into this box? Well, $138,000 minus $85,000 and change. That's how much actually I could fill this box with. And then I multiply that by the 0.24 because that's 24% if you're in this box. Okay, all together, I add up this tax plus this one plus this one plus this one. It gives me $27,198.92. That's how much I pay in taxes before the credit. So that's an important piece, before the credit. So we apply the credit. This was how much I was taxed on minus my $4,000 credit. Ends up having me pay $23,198.92.